All right, everybody. Enrique Zoltano here. Um, I don't know about the sound on this thing. I lost my phone. Oh my god. Our phones totally become like Insidious, our new identity. Uh, and yeah, no, it's weird. It's like there's this unspoken law that in order to be a person, you have to be cyborg. So we've all become cyborgs. I had I had 40 videos on there. I think that I didn't upload, and I lost my channel. I'm gonna have to create a new channel because I forgot my passwords and shit. Anyways, but one of the things I did on there, it was fun. It was poem of the righteous sufferer, and this was Akkadian, and I was surprised because I had seen a connection between Sumer. And when I say Sumer, I mean the descent of Inanna, and I think it's one of the Ninurta tales. It might have been the tales of Ninurta. I don't know, but there are a lot of them out there, and not all of them are going to be the same. Um, but I totally saw this Sumerian wisdom that was being taught in Moses, right? Now Moses, he grew up in Egypt, so he would have in Canaan he would have had access to a lot of these Sumerian stories and wisdom, and so but he was also I think influenced by Hermes Trismegistus, um, and his style is more dry, like Hermes. The Sumerian style is dramatic, right? Um, but I definitely saw this connection between Moses, the writings of Moses, and the tales of Ninurta and the descent of Inanna. In that he agreed with their wisdom, and all of them agree with keeping wisdom hidden. And I think we're going to see that today in the tales of, or the lament. It says the lament for Urim. I don't know. Um, when I was watching this podcast, the oldest stories, and he did. I'm going to read this just now, and he read it. He did a good job reading it, I think. I'm probably not going to. But when I was reading it, I totally saw. I think the Sumerians went too far, in that they were too obvious, and the warnings of Hermes to, keep the secret. I think they went a bit too far, and the reason why you don't want to go too far in divulging wisdom is that you don't want to create an artificial man. And if you have somebody who has a malicious heart, and yet they're wise, then you're going to be creating what the Book of Everything would call a bad watcher, right? There are good watchers versus bad watchers. And you don't want to create men with malicious hearts and wisdom. So I think we see him complaining about this in the lament for Urim. Now, one of the things interesting to me was that the poem of the righteous sufferer had it was Akkadian, right? It was written in the 1300s, so I don't know. I think the Kassites are going to get involved in Mesopotamia, so Mesopotamia is a real cosmopolitan place at times. But I think it's going to be in the Akkadian language, definitely Marduk, and I don't. The wisdom of Marduk is completely the opposite of the wisdom of the descent of Ananna. These two texts completely disagree with each other on what wisdom is. Marduk is the guy who's going to stand in the street and condemn the wicked doer. You're a wicked doer, And the descent of Ananna is going to say, hey, if you do that, if you go up to a toxic person and you try to correct them, which is what we see in Moses, right? He goes up to that Jew who was fucking with that other Jew, and he was the juror, and he made his decision and said, hey, stop fucking with this guy. And what happens? The guy goes and tells the Egyptian authorities on Moses. So Moses is like, no, don't be like Marduk, right? Be more like Ea, the god Ea, and his wisdom, right? If you see a toxic person, then opposite of what you'd hear from psychologists nowadays, in the descent of Ananna, Ea says, no, play along. Play along and you'll get rewarded, right? That's their claim, So go see for yourself if that which claim is true and which is false, right? I think we can see that, people who, in the Torah it says in times of wisdom the wise man know, or in hard times, in dark times, the wise man knows to keep his mouth shut, right? And that's what's being said here. Hey, keep your mouth shut in front of a toxic person, or you'll get your head cut off, right? And so there's this definite connection between the wisdom of Sumeria and Moses, right? Although, again, Moses has more of this dry Hermes style that can be very childlike. Now, I find this poem interesting. Because Abraham is from Ur, right? So Abraham's from Sumeria. And, but Sumeria happened really before Abraham and before Moses. So, to me, this poem is like a missing link. And I think what we're going to find at the beginning of this poem is that maybe, and I'm reading in between lines here, so I could be wrong, but maybe they were passing on wisdom in the wrong way. I think Abraham himself passed on wisdom to his wisest child, and so on down the line, and they kept doing that. But eventually, the secret was lost, and Moses rediscovered it. And he brought his people back, to joy and prosperity. But then he did what Hermes did. And I think Hermes passed it on to his immediate followers, but then he said, hey, shut the fuck up. We're going to write all this shit down, and you got to earn it. And I think that's what we see also in the poem of the righteous sufferer, right? He eventually earned wisdom and sight. But to me, this is like a missing link, right? This lament for Urim between Sumer and Abraham. Because this is after the destruction of Ur. So, I mean, hell, this could have been written by Abraham himself, right? This was after the destruction of Ur and before Abraham, we're assuming. And, of course, dates for all these things are up in the air, right? But, to me, this shows that the wisdom, whoever wrote this, sounded wise. And again, this is my first read through, and I was listening to it. But to me, it's like this guy had wisdom, or I say guy, but could have been a woman, right? Um, but this poet had wisdom, and I think maybe they were passing it down to the wisest child, and it eventually got passed on to Abraham, and then Abraham went around Mesopotamia like a weak uh, cuck, right? He was this weak cuck, and he got on all these adventures, and he brought the powerful down, and he brought joy and prosperity to the good. Um, he was doing Mesopotamian shit, right? And how was he doing it? He wasn't acting like Ninurta. He was acting more like Kar-Ur, right? He was this just bumbling idiot, right? Um, so let us do this. You know what? I think I want a cigarette. La, 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 la. Let's see. Papers. Tobacco. Turn on the light. All right. Oh, I don't know about the sound on this thing. We'll see. But, all right. You know what? I really enjoyed the rendition by um, the oldest stories guy. Um, I figured neither of us are poetical readers, but he did a good job. He was really passionate by it, so um, shit. All right, I got this. Anyways, here we go. He has abandoned his cow pen, and he has let the breezes haunt his sheepfold. Okay, now here's something, and I like to talk about the technicalities of the poetry. Um, so one of the things that can be bad for a writer is repetition, because repetition can just sound annoying. So to be able to pull repetition off, is very talented. Um, because it's dangerous. Um, and say what you want about this, but um, say what you want about this, but I think this is well done on an intellectual basis, right? Uh, the line that is going to keep being repeated is, he has let the breezes haunt his sheepfold, right? And you're going to keep hearing this. He has let the breezes haunt his sheepfold, and it's just repetition. But, I think something is being said in that. And, I think what's being said is that the sheepfold are there. The sheepfold are there. They're in Ur, right? But there's no shepherd to guide them, right? And as we'll see, there's no good shepherd to guide them, because there's a lot of evil shepherds, right? Because a lot of these evil shepherds, they learn the wisdom of the tales of Ninurta. So they're like evil Kar-Urs, right? Um, so yeah, that you're going to keep hearing this, and it's going to keep repeating. So here we go. He has abandoned his cowpen, and has let the breezes haunt his sheepfold. The wild bull has abandoned his cowpen, and has let the breezes haunt his sheepfold. The Lord of all the lands has abandoned it, and has let the breezes haunt his sheepfold. Enlil has abandoned the shrine Nibru, and has let the breezes haunt his sheepfold. His wife Ninlil has abandoned it, and has let the breezes haunt her sheepfold. Ninlil has abandoned that house, and Ki-ur, and has let the breezes haunt her sheepfold. The queen of Kek has abandoned it, and has let the breezes haunt her sheepfold. Ninmah has abandoned that house Kek, and has let the breezes haunt her sheepfold. Okay. Um, so one of the things you have to do here is, this is the destruction of Ur. So this is the tribe Ur, Sumerians, and they're talking about different places in Sumeria. They're also talking about different gods in Sumeria, and so you have to like update it in your mind, right? So if we did the United States, and we were talking about the lamentation for the United States, we would talk about like uh, New York City. We'd talk about Chicago. We might talk about a football team, the Dallas Cowboys, or something. Here it's different gods and places. But in the beginning, it first talks about he has abandoned his cow pen. So who is he? He's the shepherd. And so this first line, he has let the breezes haunt his sheepfold, applies directly to the shepherd. But then the next one is the wild bull has abandoned his cowpen, and has let the breezes haunt his sheepfold. So who's the wild bull? He's the man, right? So the man has abandoned his household. Um, and then the Lord of all the lands. So that's the political people, right? Then we're going to the gods. And then we go to specific places like the Shrine Nibru and Kek. But, this is going to have a meaning to all of these people of that time. She of Ison has abandoned it, and has let the breezes haunt her sheepfold. Ninisina has abandoned the shrine Igalma, and has let the breezes haunt her sheepfold. The queen of Ahug has abandoned it, and has let the breezes haunt her sheepfold. Inanna has abandoned that house Anug, and has let the breezes haunt her sheepfold. Nana has abandoned Urim. Suen has abandoned Ikiknu Jal. His wife Ningal, I'm skipping over the repetition. His wife Ningal has abandoned it. Ningal has abandoned her Agrun Kug. The wild bull of Eridug has abandoned it. Enki has abandoned that house Eridug. And that's a dramatic line. Enki has abandoned that house. That's like Jesus abandoning Christianity, or Allah abandoning the Muslims, or God abandoning Israel. Then the next lines: partially preserved name of a goddess has abandoned that house, Larag. Kara has abandoned Ima. Ud Saraha has abandoned that house, Uma. Bao has abandoned Iri Kug. She has abandoned her flooded chamber. Her son Ab Bao has abandoned Magu Ena. The protective goddess of the holy house has abandoned it, and let the breezes haunt her sheepfold. The protective goddess has abandoned Etar Sirsir. Right. Yeah. So the protective goddess. So you guys got no more protection, right? The mother Lagak has abandoned it. Jatum Duke has abandoned that house. Lagak. Nijin has abandoned it. The great queen has abandoned that house. Sarara. She of Kini she of Kinirka has abandoned it. Dumid Dumu Zid Abzu has abandoned that house. Kiniker. Kini Kini Kinirka. Kinirka. She of Guaba has abandoned it. Ninmarki has abandoned the shrine Guaba and has let the breezes haunt her sheepfold. Then the next line is nothing, I guess. First Karugu, whatever that means. She has let the breeze haunt her sheepfold. She groans grievously over it. O cow, your lowing no longer fills the byre. The cowpen no longer brings joy to the prince. O city, the lament is bitter, the lament for you. Your lament is bitter, O city, the lament made for you. So, so here we see, what the good shepherds are supposed to do. The good shepherds are supposed to bring joy to the people, um, but that's not what's happening. So if you're in dark times, then the good shepherds are all gone. There are no good shepherds, and and as we'll see later on, there are bad shepherds, evil shepherds. Right, because that's what this is all about, and has let the breezes haunt her sheepfold. I mean, that's such a beautiful line to keep repeating, um, because it's a real fuck you to all the supposed men of wisdom out there, right? Um, yeah, no, it's a real fuck you to the supposed men of wisdom, um, because they're not there, right? Even though some of them might be, but they don't have the wisdom of Ur or Moses or Abraham or Hermes Trismegistus, um, or the person who wrote this, who probably orally passed on wisdom to Abraham. That's what I. That's why I'm reading this, because I think this totally links to Abraham. This man who wrote this, if it was not Abraham himself, I don't think so. It was probably someone 200-300 years before him, just like Moses was 200 or 300 years after Abraham, right? But this was all passed on orally, to different shepherds of Ur, right? So you had this wisdom being passed on, even though there's all these dark times around them. Do. In his righteous destroyed city, its lament is bitter. In his righteous destroyed Urim, the lament is bitter. The lament made for you. The lament is bitter, O city, the lament made for you. In his destroyed Urim, its lament is bitter. How long will your bitter lament grieve your Lord who weeps? Okay. Okay, that's something right there. God is righteous, and God's letting all this happen, right? He's letting all this happen. Um, but he's righteous. He's like, fuck you guys. You guys are crying out, where are the gods? Where are the gods? Wah, wah, wah. And But he's like righteous. He's fuck you guys. They're all whining and crying. Where are you, the gods? You know, and it's like, hey, there are no good shepherds out there. So, uh, yeah, fuck you guys. But here we have, how long will your bitter lament grieve your Lord who weeps? Right. So even though he's righteous, his heart is torn. Right. This is you know, I mean, that's one of the beautiful things about like the poem of the righteous sufferer. You constantly see masculine and feminine, right? In order to be a whole person, according to these wise folk, the women need to be a little bit more masculine, and men like totally need to be a bit more feminine, right? Um, it's about being whole, right? Love can only happen between two whole people, not between two halves who need each other, right? Obviously, that's it's mathematics, simple mathematics. Mm. I don't have any more money to buy beer, so thank you, Teresa. You're amazing. I love you. Um, let's see, where am I? Yes. How long will your bitter lament grieve Nana who weeps? I mean, so you hear that? They're righteous. Nana is righteous, but she's weeping for the people. You know, she's like, where are the good shepherds at? O brick built Urim, the lament is bitter, the lament made for you. Now I like that brick built Urim, right? So you have this strength there, right? But it's not, right? It's not strong at all. For me, it's I don't know. Maybe I'm going to go off on a tangent here, but you know, I look at modern cities and they're ugly. Like, oh my god, and they're like these straight structures, you know. And in a lot of modern buildings, you're getting a lot more curves and shit. But I mean, a building is built to increase profits, right? And so, yeah, the building is built to increase profits. So if you wanted to make a building prettier, then it would cost more money and you'd get less profits. So you know, you look at a modern city, and you know, I love. Here's another tangent. I love drawers and artists, and you know, sometimes you'll see a post-apocalyptic city, right? And it's like these artists have way too much faith in modern architecture, because it's like, if aliens attacked a city, like there wouldn't be this cool post-apocalyptic city outline, right? Like everything would just be rubble on the ground. Anything worth taking by the scavenging survivors would be taken, and um, so I mean, there's this dissonance between this strong brick-built city, and yet they're being destroyed, right? There's a dissonance there. It's like there's this you know, fronting, there's this posing, but the reality is that they're weak. You know, they're not strong like a brick built house should be. There's this weakness to them. Oh, kick nujo. Your lament is bitter, the lament made for you. O shrine agrun Kug, the lament is bitter, the lament made for you. Right, and here we have more repetition. I don't know. Oh, great place, Ki Ur. The lament is bitter, the lament made for you. O shrine Nibru city, the lament is bitter, the lament made for you. O brick built Ikur, the lament is bitter, the lament made for you. O Jajik Kua, the lament is bitter, the lament made for you. O Ubku Unkena, the lament is bitter, the lament made for you. O brick built Irikug, the lament is bitter, the lament made for you. Okay, maybe we could get some help out from you guys out there. So I had this whole thing on the first one, has let the breezes haunt her sheepfolds. So they're lamenting for these shrines, or for yeah, they're lamenting for these gods and these shrines. Okay, well, I mean, like you can't really destroy Nana, right? You can only destroy yourselves. So it's not the gods being destroyed. um, they just I think they just have no faith in themselves. They have no righteousness, probably. Like this is total book of everything type things. Maybe. That's kind of what it sounds like because they're making this lament for someone. Like they should be making lament for themselves that they're so stupid. Um, Maybe that's what's going on here. I don't know. What do you think? I think we'll continue this on another video because we're only a quarter of the way done and we're 30 minutes in. There we go.